Edgar Allan Poe, H.P. Lovecraft, Clive Barker. I mean, there are so many horror writers, aren't there? Now, if you really want to be terrified, you should totally read Twilight. You're going to be just absolutely horrified at what young girls like to read. That was a really bad joke. I'm so sorry. This is not about any of those. This is about Stephen King. This is a book recommendation for anyone. If you want to read Stephen King, there's a book for you. He writes about every single thing that you can possibly imagine. I'm gonna give you some scary ones, some not so scary ones. I mean, you just pick depending on your reading style. You just need to try Stephen King, you know. And what better time than right now, Halloween season. We have the blue moon. It's just so crazy. Like, this Halloween is so cool. So I'm surrounded by some of my favorite Stephen King books. So let's just get started with the recommendations now. Number one, if you don't know where to start with Stephen King, I would recommend you just to go through the more well-known kind of novels. I mean, they're the bestsellers, the number ones, the one that everyone talks about for a reason. The Shining was the very first book that I actually read by him when I was super young, super scary. I think this one has the most scary kind of vibe as well as it, because everyone is scared. Number one, ghost kind of people, a place that is haunted, a huge place that is haunted. But not just that, like when I was little, my dog wants to be in the video. When I was little, I was really afraid of the ghost, like the lady on the bathtub, like you know about this, like these are iconic for a reason. But now that I read it, like as an adult later on in my life, what I was most afraid of in The Shining was the dad. So crazy, and the way that like the ghosts are manipulating the actual people, aka the father, is just crazy. If you've read this and if you enjoy these, I would say go read Doctor Sleep. Controversial opinion. It was okay-ish, like it had its moments, but my favorite part was the ending. I cried. I have a whole blog on that because I loved it so much. But if you don't know where to start, this is huge. So if you don't want a huge one, probably not this one. But this is just classic, you know? Like, if you want a good horror Stephen King, you cannot go wrong with either of these. It or The Shining. If you want something smaller, however, you don't feel like that huge commitment towards Stephen King's writing, or not like a huge horror thing, but you want a little bit of horror, Carrie, also a classic, super short, super entertaining. I was so surprised because Stephen King was writing about teenage girls and he did it so well, and I was reading this and I was like, are you kidding me, Stephen King? Like, how did you know stuff? It was kind of scary, but so good. She's been bullied in school. She's like the outcast. Her mom is crazy religious to a point of her life being completely ruined. She has absolutely no friends, and she might have some powers. I'm pretty sure you've all seen her with the whole bucket of blood, and she just goes crazy towards the town because of what her mom is doing to her. Such a good Stephen King read. Okay, now I do want to talk about some really underrated books by him that I just love. This is number one, like the most underrated Stephen King book, in my opinion, Dolores Claiborne. If you don't want something super horror, but more like thrillery, so good, like so good, one of my favorite. I cannot really talk much about this because I don't want it to be spoilery, like I don't want to spoil the whole book for you. Super short as well, not so horrifying, more thriller. Seriously, you're gonna have your mind blown kind of a book. Dolores Claiborne. I think this is the most underrated book by Stephen King ever, as well as A Bag of Bones. This book blew my mind as well. Scary at times, like super scary at times. If you really want to, this is also big, but if you really want like a taste of Stephen King's writing, I feel like at his best, Bag of Bone kind of encompasses every single thing that I love about Stephen King. So good. I think this is a perfect book for right now, Halloween season, Salem Slot, so good. I am currently reading this and I chose this at exactly the right moment because it's so spooky. It has all of this vibes of just like the supernatural, the horror. It's really like Halloween-esque kind of a read. We don't really know what's happening. There's a writer most of the time with Stephen King. They're in Salem Slot, which seems to be a little bit haunted, a little bit wicked, weird characters, you know, from like small town. And we have this writer coming in to write his story. He comes back into his childhood town and some stuff starts happening, like creepy stuff. It starts going on around and it's just so good. I'm really glad that I'm reading this right now. It's starting to get really spooky and I just love that. So amazing. Now, let's say you don't want the spooky horror. If you want more like a thriller, I have a couple of suggestions for you. Number one, Misery. A writer goes into a car accident and a crazy fan finds him, kidnaps him, and wants him to like write a book for her basically, and it gets insane. If you like those thrillers where you're just shouting like get out of there, move, this is perfect for you. It has all of those elements and you're just like rooting for him so badly, and this like crazy girl is just absolutely insane, super gripping. You just really want him to get out of there. It's just that kind of great book. If you want other type of thriller with not so crazy people, the Bill Hodge trilogy, I only have the first two books. I just finished the second one. So good. These ones are page turners, like especially when you are going into the end of the story and everything is unraveling, everyone's getting together. You are having the psychopath at his like maximum craziness and you just don't know what's going to happen, who's going to win, how are we going to beat this insane human being. That's kind of big for you. We follow Bill Hodge, which is an ex-detective. Amazing stuff. These are Finders Keepers was such a surprise that I gave it 5 stars. Like I thought I was going to like them, but I didn't expect them to be so good, and I was so engaged in it and I couldn't stop reading, and I was like, how is it that I just read half of the book? Like what do you mean? Like this is going so fast. Wait. So good. I love them. I cannot get enough of them. I cannot wait for my copy of the third book to come because they're so good. If you like fantasy, there's fantasy as well. The Dark Tower series, huge series of fantasy. If you're one of like a huge fantasy nerd that you just cannot get enough of huge world building, Stephen King, I think, is the biggest world builder ever. He just has all of these multiverses that tie together with the Dark Tower, starting with the Gunslinger thing. You have to push through the first one, which is very short, because it can get really tedious and boring at times, but after that, like the ending of these, mind-blowing, and after that, everything is just absolute golden. I'm reading them, I'm on the second book, and I am living for them, and I've heard that the third one is the best. So I cannot wait. If you want more of like an apocalyptic kind of read, so I love these. I do have a full video on these. Kind of zombies, but not quite the full like definition of zombies, that are creative but some sort of message or noise coming from the cell phones. Everyone that has a cell phone suddenly goes crazy and the world ends just like that. But of course it is a Stephen King, so the zombies are kind of organized and they have an end goal, so our main characters are like trying to fight that, etc. It gets so good. Again, super engaging. You just want to know what the heck is going on with the zombies and what is going to happen to the main character. If you do like Stephen King, let me know your favorite book down there, or have you read any of them? What do you think? Like some of your favorites. Do you have one that I didn't mention? This will be all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Definitely go and read some Stephen King. It's the spooky season, Halloween, we have a full moon, like Stephen King, duh. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you beautiful book dragons on my next video. Bye.